Hello, it's time for Combat Patrol Carnage. So, it's a brand new week, we're on a brand new delivery, and we're kicking things off with our brand new issue 31. So this brings us the first of our Chaos Space Marine models, with the awesome Dark Apostle and his Dark Disciples. We also get the full build, full paint guide, we also get his battle record, and then we get to try him out, and that is pretty much it. It's a pretty focused issue. But it's nice that we're finally starting our 4th Combat Patrol, and I'm excited to get into the Chaos Space Marines, as I have quite a gathering of Chaos Space Marines, mainly thanks to the premium kit from Imperium magazine. I had 2 of that premium kit actually. I got 1 unbuilt still, and I'm thinking I'm going to be putting that Chaos Sorcerer towards my Emperor's Children. Issue comes with a frame, and we got 2 fairly smallish frames. But we got our Dark Apostle and these 2 Dark Disciples, and some of the extra bits and gubbins there as well. So yeah, pretty cool little character frame. And of course we get bases. 2 25mm bases for the Disciples, and 1 40mm for the Apostle. So that's pretty much all we've got in this issue, so let's head to the table. But before we do, don't forget to do all the usual. Like this video if you're enjoying the Combat Patrol content, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and drop me a comment down below. Are you looking forward to the Chaos Space Marines now that we're hitting our 4th Combat Patrol? And what are you wanting to look forward to next? I'm not too keen on Orcs and Votan, but for the purpose of the magazine I'll be collecting and painting them. But I think after that I am looking forward to the Geneseed Cults, and after that of course World Eaters. That's all we have left really. And of course Cadians. Finally then, Combat Patrol Carnage is proudly sponsored by warbay.shop, your one-stop supply for all your hobby needs. They stock everything you need for getting started and expanding your armies. They sell new and used models. They also stock the full Games Workshop range, all your hobby equipment including paints and paintbrushes, and your gaming essentials as well. They also stock all the partworks and have their own store, so if you want to check out and look over some of the items in person, head there. There's a link to their website in the video description down below, so check them out. Right, let's hit the table and we'll build and paint our Dark Apostle. So we're back and we're ready to paint our Dark Disciple. So without further ado, let's head to the paint desk and we'll start working on this guy. So, ready to start painting our Dark Apostle. And our first colour is actually Lead Belcher, as a lot of this detail is in and underneath of a detail that we need to be careful around. So we're getting this out of the way first. So I'm using my small layer brush, as we got quite a lot of finite detail to do. So we'll get some of this prepared on our palette. Yeah, brush it clean, and we're ready to go. So we've got the grills here on his legs. Pick these out. Just trying to make sure we get the inside. We'll pick out the raised areas with gold later on. We've got the exposed details of the bolt pistol to pick out. So the grip, the muzzle, and the mechanism at the back. And most of the other silver details are going to be on his backpack. So you've got all these cables here, the grills. Vents down the bottom here. Then we've got these little braziers up at the top here to pick out silver as well. With some fresh water, our Dark Apostles should be looking a little like this. So we've got all of that silver detail ready and completed. So we're moving on to some of our matte colours now. We're going to hit off first with Baraknar Burgundy. This is for his robe and a little bit of cloth over his chest as well. So we'll use our medium base brush as we've got quite a lot of area to cover. So on the back here we'll start, we got cloak coming out from here, just being careful around that silver. Don't forget to, of course, get the inside as well. With our Baraknar Burgundy drying, we're moving on to Catagen Flesh. This is for his holster and the straps around his leg. And we can use our small layer brush as this is quite fine detail. So picking out the whole of his holster and all the straps holding it down. Being careful around that silver detail we finished. So with our leather details done, we're going to move over to Fiston Red. This is going to be for our book casing, the Crozius handle, and the candles across his back. So we're going to pick out the weapon grip here on the Crozius. You got the detail on the book. Don't worry about the raised detail, it's going to be gold. We'll be doing that in the next stage. And our final detail, all the little candles on top of this back banner here. So the red detail done, our apostles should be looking a little like this. Now for the hard work, as we've got to pick out all of that gold trim. So it's going to take a while, but go steady, don't rush yourself, and you'll be done in no time. So with Retributor armor on our palette, we're ready to start picking out all of that gold detail. Using a small brush again, as we need that added control. Onto our apostle, so we've got the trim here on the shoulder pad. We'll start picking that out. Then we've got all the gold detail along our backpack here. We've got the Chaos star on the book as well as the corners. So with the gold trim done, our Dark Apostle should be looking a little like this. I've got quite a few areas I'm going to need to tidy up, but before we hit the shade stage, I'll come in with some Abaddon Black or Mephiston Red and tidy those areas up. But now with fresh water, we can move on to our last few matte colours. So we're going to do Rakoff Flesh. This is going to be for all the parchment around our model. So the book, the two strips of parchment hanging off his chest, and we've got some little impurity parchments on his back there as well. So onto our model, we've got the book pages to pick out here. Making sure you work it into all of that text. And then we got the two strips of parchment here. Being careful around that gold detail we finished. And finally we got our little bits of parchment on his back and on his cape as well. With all that parchment done, we're ready to move on to our next stage, and we're going to be picking out his face with good old Wraithbone. So get some of this onto our palette. And onto his face, so we want to sort of paint from the bottom up so we can avoid all the other details. Just being careful with the back of his head where the back of his helmet would be. While we're waiting for the second layer of face to dry, we'll come in with Corax White, and we're just picking out the prayer beads across his chest. Making sure we've got a nice sharp tipped point to our brush. Just want to gently drag the white across these beads. Being careful around that completed chest cloth. There we go. And so after that tidy up, our Dark Apostle is looking nearly complete. So next up though, we got to do our wash stage. Only 2 shades at the moment to use. First off is Nuln Oil. This is going to be for all of the silver detail, as well as the Barracknell burgundy detail and the red. So I've got a small layer on standby for small areas, but for the majority of it we can get on and use our shade brush. So the chest here, we want to shade everything, including those white beads. Then we got the leather and the bolt pistol to pick out. And we got book detail, being careful around that gold, which is where we might need our smaller brush. And while that detail is drying, we can come in with our second shade, Agrax Earth shade, and this is for all the parchment detail. So most of it's small detail, so we'll use our small layer brush. So all our parchment here to pick out. Pages of the book. Working it into all that recess detail. And finally, the bits of parchment on his armour. Once this is dry, we are done and we're ready to come back to our magazine, and we'll get this guy ready to play a game. So while we're waiting for our Dark Apostle to dry, we have one last thing to do, and that's to name him. So flip over to our Dark Apostle page. Now normally I'd roll, but after doing some reading, I've come down to 2 that I actually like out of these 3. There's Lekbane and Melkers, but out of the flavor text, I think I like Melkers better. This Dark Apostle zealously ensures their followers fully embrace chaos. So our Dark Apostle is Melkers. And we got to roll on the table, and we're going to stick to Undivided. And again, I think the only one I really enjoy is the Disposed here. So that's going to be his title, the Dispossessed. So there we go. That's our character. We've built this guy, we've painted him, and we're about to go into our game so we can tick that off as well. So let's have a little read about Dark Apostles before we continue. Dark Apostles are part of the sacrilegious priesthood of chaos. They take to the field, chanting profane prayers to strengthen their accursed brethren. A Dark Apostle is accompanied into battle by a pair of Dark Disciples who follow along behind, carrying blasphemous icons to aid their master in his dark designs. So there we go. Then we got his battle record and his data sheet here, of course. So, make sure we're in shot. So what do we have? So we have a movement of 6, toughness of 4, a save of 3, but only a save of 6 on our Dark Disciples. 4 wounds for our Apostle, 1 wound for each of our Disciples. A 5+ leadership on our Dark Apostle, and a 7+ on the Disciples. Both have an objective control of 1, and the unit has a 4+ invulnerable save. So ranged weapons, he only has his bolt pistol, which is 12 inches, single shot, 3+ to hit, 4 of strength, 0 AP but 1 damage. Then the melee weapons, we've got the Accursed Crozius, which has 5 attacks, hitting on a 2, strength for 6, -1 AP, damage 2. And the close combat weapons of the Disciples have a single attack each, so that's 2 in total. Hits on a 4, strength for 3, AP 0, damage 1. Can be attached to a Legionnaires squad, is a leader, has the Dark Pax faction ability, and Dark Zealotry. While this unit is leading a unit that contains a Dark Apostle, each time a model in this unit makes an attack, add 1 to the wound roll. So he really strengthens your melee-focused Chaos Space Marine squads, which is probably why I'll be attaching him to the 5-man, more close combat-orientated squad if I decide to combat squad the Chaos Space Marines later on. So there we go. Other bit of information, of course, our title chart. So we've got the warriors who serve the powers of chaos are uncountable as the stars themselves, and they are known by many names and titles. To select an honorary title for your character, simply choose whether they serve Chaos Undivided or one of the Chaos Gods. Then roll on the appropriate table below or select the result you like the most. Once you have picked the honorary title, you can record it alongside the character's unit name. The space for this can be found on the article that contains the character's datasheet, which we've just done. So yeah, I've stuck with Chaos Undivided, as that's what Black Legion pretty much is, although they do have basic troops of many different god-specific legions, which we'll find out in future articles. And we have a little bit of a quote here. Impurity shall be our armor, hate shall be our weapon, immortality shall be our reward. Then we've got titles here for each of the different Chaos Gods if you want to align specifically. So we've got stuff like the Bloodied and the Scarred for Khorne, Distorted, Mutable Seer for Tzeentch, Malignant and Oozing One for Nurgle, Prince of Pleasure and the Blissful Knight for Slaanesh. So that's it. Right, let's bring this guy back in and we can move on to our battle. There we go, there's our Dark Disciple, looking pretty good now that the shade's all dried. And yeah, he's looking really chaosy. And of course, he's got his 2 little disciples that follow him about. I have to do a little bit of a tidy up, I think, on some of the Wraithbone areas before we come in with our newest shade paint. But there we have it. That's it for this video. So there we go. I hope you found this tutorial very helpful, and I hope you've chosen a suitable name for your Dark Apostle. All that's left for me to do then is to say thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time on more Combat Patrol Carnage. Goodbye.